At the end of the game, we dominated a team we should dominate. It got sloppy.
Yes, it did get a little sloppy here at Sun Devil Stadium, but 45-14 was still the final as ASU goes to 1-0 to start their 2014 season. That's Chris Karpman of ASUDevils.com. I'm Jared Cohen, Sports 360 AZ. Chris, let's get into this game. Coach Graham was very, very excited about the young guys that came out and contributed tonight, and that's what a lot of people really were focusing in on.
Yeah, absolutely, Jared. I feel like DJ Calhoun was probably the star of the night on the defensive side of the ball. We had some questions about him. Was he going to be big enough to hold up against the run? He did a good job. Was he going to be able to get to the quarterback? He showed himself to be a really good blitzer, I felt like. And he just plays with such an air of confidence about him. If he makes a mistake, he's going to make it at full speed. He's a guy that has a tremendous amount of potential moving forward. I felt like he and all the other young guys, they had very few misassignments, very few alignment issues. The communication was excellent. Those things were things I really didn't anticipate going into this game.
To me, and maybe it's because they have the same number, but I see a lot of Alden Darby in DJ Calhoun. Do you see the same?
I've said that in the past. Physically, they kind of have a similar frame. Both kind of guys that were like strong, wiry strong build. Calhoun's going to have to add more size to play that linebacker position, but he's such a fearless competitor that he'll just take on blocks with linemen and linebackers with no problem, offensive linemen, I should say. And he just plays with a reckless abandon that you just need to have. And Darby kind of had that same way. He was a fearless mentality sort of a guy, didn't back down from anything or anyone. The way that those guys approach the game mentally is similar, in addition to the fact they have kind of a similar physique.
Let's talk some positives and negatives. We'll go the negative side first so we can end on a happy note because it was a win after all. There were some negatives that came from this game, even though it was a much inferior opponent.
Some spotty things in the secondary. They tried some different things, some coverage, formation blitzes. Demarius Randall was coming off the edge more. They were rotating Jordan Simone back more. I felt like Demarius Randall, he's such an instinctual playmaker that sometimes he tries to like bait quarterbacks into things and he gets himself into bad situations. I felt like there was a little bit of that tonight where he wasn't probably where he should have been. The offensive line, it's kind of a tough thing mentally to get psyched up to play against Weber State. I don't think they came out and really blew that defensive line off the football the way they wanted to. And I don't think that Mike Norvell had his best night either from a play calling standpoint early on. This is a game where you really want to get some confidence going with some of your other players, Cameron Smith, Cody Cole. So I would have liked to see from ASU more inside run and more targeting non-Jalen Strong type stuff because we know what Jalen Strong is capable of doing. But, you know, again, it's kind of like a difficult game because of the opponent, and there's some rust, obviously, that you're trying to shake off from the previous season.
Sure, and that proceeds to our next a question here, talking about the positives. The non-Jalen Strong tonight was Gary Chambers. Catches his first pass, which happens to be a touchdown. That, also DJ Foster and some of the other familiar faces really came to play tonight.
Yeah, and in fact, one of the most improved players on the team, according to Mike Norvell, Todd Graham, Delvon Alexander, is Gary Chambers. He showed that. I mean, last year they didn't have a lot of confidence going into some of the three receiver formations, and they wanted to play with two running backs and two tight ends more. Now I think they have a better confidence level with Chambers stepping up, Cameron Smith a year older and more mature. You know, overall, Jared, the offense didn't have a good night, but there were some really positive things that you could take away from that experience. Like, look at the young running backs, Kalen Ballage and Damari Richard. Both of those guys got out there and showed their potential as well.
That's Chris Karpman. I'm Jared Cohen. We'll take this on the road next week. ASU 1-0, and we'll have their first road test in Albuquerque against New Mexico next week.